This is a recording of our February 3rd, 2026 workshop, Getting Organized and Managing Your Citations. It is presented by me, Jasmine Kirby, your online learning librarian, and my colleagues Travis Jones, our undergraduate teaching and learning librarian, and Miriam Bridges, our business librarian. Miriam provides support for EndNote, while Travis and I provide support for Zotero, and we created this workshop as a broad overview of citation management support at ODU Libraries. First, we cover what citation managers are and when to start using them. Then, we will introduce the two citation managers supported at ODU Libraries, EndNote and Zotero, and talk about how to choose between them. Finally, we will talk about opportunities to learn more. Thank you again for tuning in, and we hope to see you at our library workshops.
Next slide, Jasmine.
Yep.
All right, one quick thing before we get started. Jasmine tells me like it's best to like let you leave if you find out that you need to from the start rather than to sit through our whole presentation. But citation managers are really good for kind of research projects that you're doing over, course of a couple weeks where you're, saving citations, then going back to them, things like that. If you just quickly need to create a bibliography for, just to turn in a bibliography or just to kind of, you've already done all your research and you really just need to do a bibliography or done all your writing and you just want to add a bibliography to the end of your paper, one thing you might consider is ZoteroBib, which is at zbib.org. And ZoteroBib is just a much more lightweight version of Zotero where you can paste in URLs and basically URLs and DOIs from websites, and it will create a bibliography for you pretty well just from those links. So it doesn't save, you can't go back to it or anything like
Oh,
that.
you kind of can. It's in the browser.
Um, but it is a really quick, kind of lightweight way of getting some citations if you need it. If you are working like over a period of time, I think it makes sense to invest your time into kind of using a citation manager, but it's not good for every use case, or is good for every use case, but sometimes it's more than you need. All right, next slide. All right. So what is a citation manager? So a citation manager, I think of a citation manager not just as a citation manager, but kind of as a research workflow manager, because citation implies that it's all about just kind of like citing things in your paper. But what citation managers do really well is they help you kind of manage your research processes, manage your literature review, pull in sources, organize them, annotate them, read them, and then cite them. Next slide. So the kind of basic thing that citation managers do is they are a lightweight database that kind of organizes citation information. And EndNote and Zotero work slightly differently, but in both cases, you can import information from a library catalog or a website into the citation manager, and it'll say, generally speaking, be able to say, this is the author, this is the journal title, this is the article title, etc. And it'll kind of organize that information in a way that when it comes time to cite, you can cite it easily and it knows where all the parts are and can format a good citation. But really, it's a way of saving things that you know that you are interested in reading for later. So for Miriam will kind of discuss this, but for a lot of folks, the process is going to involve, pulling in a lot of citations, going through them, organizing them, and kind of doing some intellectual work around, how's my writing going to be organized is something you can kind of do within your citation manager. So you start off by importing things, and then next slide, Jasmine. From there, you can add more things. So I say you can import things, and the easiest thing to do is always going to be able to just like press a button and import that citation information. But you can also add things manually. So if it's, a book that you isn't from like the library catalog or something like that, you can go ahead in both Zotero and EndNote, just type in things in manually. Um, Next slide. And then finally, you can import PDFs. So if you have been researching for a while, but you haven't been using a citation manager, it's likely that you've got like a folder full of PDFs laying around somewhere. And both Zotero and EndNote have kind of features for importing PDFs into the citation manager and then also grabbing kind of the citation information you need for those. So one nice thing about importing PDFs and is that like it links the citation information with the PDF. So you're not, so you've got a rather than a folder of kind of weirdly named PDFs, you have like, oh, I can actually search by the author or search by the journal title. And it just makes you a little bit better organized. All right, next slide, Jasmine. So the next kind of part of this that I've already alluded to is you can organize yourself. So both Zotero and EndNote have organizational kind of strategies that are pretty flexible. Different people like to organize themselves in different ways. So you can create collections, is what Zotero calls them, but basically they're just folders. And this is like somewhat like folders in a file directory in like Windows, where you can say like, all right, oh, this is all of Jasmine's articles about Norfolk paranormal activity. And you can say like, oh, that's the folder. And I can see like, these are all the things that when I'm writing my chapter on Norfolk paranormal activity, these are all the things that I might want to discuss. Next slide. Maybe see if something shows up if you click again. There we go. Um, Both Zotero and EndNote also handle tagging. So you can, if tagging is something that makes more sense for you in terms of organization, you can do that. Sometimes I will use tags that are like I'll use folders or collections for like specific topics that I'm writing on, but like broad subjects that may like extend across different projects, I'll use tags for, or like methodologies I can use tags for. And it's just another strategy that kind of cuts across using folders, and different people use them differently. They're flexible, they're idiosyncratic, but you have both options to kind of keep yourself organized. All right, next slide. And then finally, the thing that like I find maybe least exciting, but I think most people find most exciting, is that both Zotero and EndNote have plugins for Word and Google Docs that allow you to take all that kind of citation information that's been stored in that little database and formats them as references and citations in your document. So you can see here kind of what that looks like in with Zotero, where you click, add edit citation, and you can go ahead and get a search bar, and you can search for Chessie the Sea Monster from Wikipedia, the Chessie the Sea Monster article from Wikipedia, and you can insert a citation into your document as you're writing. EndNote looks slightly different, but works very similarly. And those are fully formatted citations. There are tens of thousands of citation styles for both of these tools. So almost every possible way you would need to cite is an option. Also, one nice thing is because the data is stored just as kind of data and not as a citation, not formatted, you can switch between citation styles quite easily. So, if you submit a manuscript one place and then you submit a manuscript somewhere else and they use different styles, changing those over can be quite easy. Yeah, next slide, please. I think that leads us to Miriam. So
Okay.
Miriam is going to tell you a little bit about kind of like, now we're talking about what these things do, thinking about how you might integrate them into your workflow.
Okay. All right. So we go to the next slide. All right. So when you're looking at managing your workflow, there are certain steps for example, the research workflow, the first step is to gather and evaluate your resources or your research. And that process, is going to involve searching for sources, saving your sources, and then evaluating them for the relevance and organizing them in ways that are relevant to what your research is. And so we've already looked at how with um, both EndNote and Zotero, you can uh, get the resources or get the resources from different databases, and then you can save those resources into your EndNote library or to your Zotero library. And then using different features such as creating groups, or even creating an EndNote, you create groups. And then also you have the tagging feature in which you can organize your information that makes sense to you. So once you've gathered and evaluated your information, then you need to analyze that information. That involves um, reading the sources, evaluating the relevance, and then also synthesizing and adding information, such as you can add your own notes to your EndNote reference. So when you have a reference in your EndNote library, you can add information that makes that reference relevant to what your research is. You can annotate it. You can add your own specialized keywords so that when you need to find your information, you can find it using the keywords that you prefer to use. And then finally, the write and citing um, research, or the write and citing workflow. And that involves, once you have your EndNote library, then you're able to write your paper and then use your references to cite and create in-text citations in your bibliography. And in EndNote, it's called Cite While You Write. Um, and it's integrated with the Word programs, so that again you can get access to your EndNote library and then easily insert the references directly into your Word program. Okay. All right, let's go to the next. Now the fun part.
Yes. We're going to talk about EndNote versus Zotero and how to pick a side. I mean, it's not a war because we've won. No, it's we are not actually fighting with each other. We all like each other and get along, I think. But yeah, we're going to go over what are some factors you should look at when choosing which citation manager to use. And before we even get into that, come on, click. Just remember, like, your decision on how to manage your citations, it does not have to be permanent. And the main thing is like finding something that works for you. So, for example, like you might start out in one and switch to the other because like a research group you're in is using one. Um, Either way, learning how to use a citation management software will take time, so that is an investment of time you have to make. But yeah, for both options that we have here, there are not, there's some features neither of them have. So if you're like working a lot in Google Slides, neither of them work with Google Slides. Um, Also, it's easier to start a citation management software at the start or early into a project. Not impossible to go mid-project. Like it's mentioned, the PDF, you can dump a bunch of PDFs in there. It's great. But there's also tools if you have like a written bibliography, tools like AnyStyle.io, and even, Google Gemini is offered through the university. Any kind of like generative AI. I like AnyStyle.io because it's a little bit more specific to this task, but you can turn a text bibliography, like copy and paste the bibliography into that tool and have it render that information into a BibTeX file so that you can add it to either program. So if you've already created a reference list, even if you can have that turned into a file that these software can read. So it is not too late to get into citation managers, even if you already have like done a ton of work. It is just going to be a little bit more of a process to do that, and it is a lot easier to just start early in the project. And then finally, yeah, and again, you can move between these as well by like exporting the citations and libraries and such. again, this is more like if you need help with these kinds of things, we are here for that. Also, University Libraries is not paying for any institutional citation managers other than EndNote right now. So including Zotero, we'll talk about that a little bit more. But yeah, sorry about that. Though if you like want to use the Zotero cloud in your lab, for example, I would just write that into a grant for, or if you want to use another one of these that are out there. There are other ones than EndNote and Zotero, but there also kind of aren't because the one you're probably thinking of is built on Zotero. So it's also Zotero. Um, so yeah, that's about that. All right, finding an option that's right for you. Again, you want to what do people use? Like, what is your what are your other fellow faculty, fellow students using your research group? Like, you want to be collegial, convivial. That's a word I learned this year. And you are collaborative with your, the people around you. So use what people around you are using. Make your life easier is generally the best way to go about that. Also considering what kind of materials you're going to need, um, to be working with. So, you know, um, like if you're working with a lot of websites or if you're researching like Reddit forum posts, Zotero is going to be stronger at that because it's just better at capturing things from the web, for example. But like not everyone's doing that kind of research. If you want to be able to search the databases from within the tool, for example, for like a systematic review, you want things a little bit more structured in that way, EndNote might be the stronger option. So it really, again, if it's a systematic review, a lot of that work, a lot of people use EndNote for that. So that can be a good option there. And then if you plan on using Cite while you write, what word processor, because it is built into certain word processors or it has an option for certain word processors and doesn't have it for others. So like if you are using Overleaf, the premium Overleaf, Zotero is built in. That might be something to consider. If you don't know what Overleaf is, do not go on that rabbit hole. Um, don't worry about it. And that's yeah, that but just thinking about these kinds of things will help you as you figure out like what's going to work for you. And again, you can change teams, you can be on both teams. Um, it's great. All right. But yeah, again, we have shared features, organization tools, as we mentioned earlier, like groups, tagging, PDF management, which includes like being able to annotate PDFs, you can highlight PDFs, take notes, is all built in. This is a whole research universe. There's comprehensive citation styles. Zotero has over 10,000. I think EndNote is at like 8,000 something. I'm sure like either way, you will find basically most of the citation styles that you're using. And so certain journals, again, are going to put their citation style in one of these platforms and you can just access it that way. And again, they all have the cite while you write feature. So you can write, you can just look up what source you're using and cite it. And that's really helpful. All right. Miriam.
Okay, so EndNote, we have our pros and cons. I think the main pro with EndNote is it is better at handling larger files, so it's better at handling. It's more robust when you're dealing with systematic reviews. Also, um, within EndNote Desktop, there is the version in which you can di actually search different databases such as PubMed, also Library of Congress. Um, they also have new AI features. I haven't really used the AI features, but they are present. And then also it is good with PowerPoint integration, so it's great for presentations and posters. And also it offers more storage, offers more cloud storage than Zotero. Some of the cons are it's really when you want to collaborate with other people in your group, it can be really complicated. It is possible, but it's complicated. Um, when it comes to web content, um, there isn't a way to um, export web content easily into your EndNote library. Usually you have to manually create the web content if you want to, cite like a web page or something like that. And then after you graduate, if you graduate and you don't have EndNote, if you're not in another university, then it's going to cost. If you want the latest version of EndNote, you're going to have to pay yourself in order to get access to the latest updated EndNote.
The cost has gone down, though. I will give them that credit.
Yeah.
All right. Ready to hear? Okay.
Okay, let it rip.
All right. Zotero, the pros, it's open source and highly customizable. Someone out there is probably running it on a Game Boy just because. I haven't officially seen that, but like that's the kind of like thing people do with Zotero. Like they will make their own little version and it lives, off on the internet somewhere and you can, look up like how do I run Zotero on my Game Boy? And someone's probably figured out a way. It does have a more robust support for citing a wider range of sources, as we mentioned. So it does have a web clipper built in and will clip websites and other sources like that. I think it's cutting edge. Again, because of all this like there's a lot of like experimentation and work. And it's also the citation manager that will not be named is built off like whatever Zotero does, not EndNote. Whatever Zotero does is copied by that one because it's built off of Zotero. So um, that's the as well, and it's a little easier to set up with Google Docs than EndNote. I think there is a way now to set up EndNote in Google Docs. Like that has been an issue
Yeah.
in the past, but Zotero, it's just right. I think when you install it, it goes right into your browser, and then through that browser add-on works in Google Docs. Um, so the cons of Zotero, great community, but it is a community. So the support is documentation and forums and often volunteers. It is an open source project. The paid edition with cloud storage is not provided by ODU. That being said, because it's an open source and highly customizable project, people have the workaround for that to make it sync to OneDrive, easily available, easy to follow instructions. I've done it. Nothing terrible has happened so far. I will keep you updated. Check the libguide for any updates in that area. But yeah, there's a like you can pay for cloud storage through the Center for Digital Scholarship, but and some people do that, and I think they're getting scammed. But that, and I would, yeah, for your thesis, you might want to pay rather than doing the OneDrive workaround, even though I've not had any problems with that. It can be glitchy at times. Open source. Um, you can't search the databases directly. You can link to the library to resolve links, and there's integration with Unpaywall. I think they're always doing stuff at Zotero. It's a lot to keep up with. But yeah, it doesn't you're not going to be able to search the databases directly like you can in EndNote. And then finally, there's no site while you write for PowerPoint or any slide software um, anywhere that I can find, unfortunately. You can still generate citations and just copy and paste them in, but it's just not as fun, not as nice. So that's the only sad thing. Someone's probably working on it though. And again, with the cloud storage not provided by ODU, but you have cloud storage through OneDrive and can do that. The main thing with any of these, don't connect them to Dropbox. This is like a tangent. Do not try to run EndNote out of Dropbox. Do not try to run Zotero out of Dropbox. Horrible things will happen. Like not like in your life or anything, but to your like citations. So don't do that. Um, that's your one takeaway. I will not run anything out of Dropbox except like my things that are citation related. All right. Talk about how
Okay.
would you get EndNote?
So with EndNote, again, it is free because we have the license for it. Um, but with the desktop, you can do it through the ODU Libraries website. And generally, if you just go to the ITS webpage, that's where you can download the desktop version. We also do have access to the cloud version. So with the cloud version, you can have access to it anywhere you are. You just go to myendnoteweb.com and then you can log in. They do prefer that if you're first signing up or registering for the cloud version, that if you are on campus, then you're fine. But if you're off campus, you'll just need to use the proxy web page so that it knows that you are an ODU affiliated person, so you'll have the right access. And then if you have any questions with EndNote, we do have a guide. I'll just click there and put a link to it. Oh, wait, the link's not working. I'll just
We
get that link.
we got so many links. The links are on the slide. The links are on the event page. The links are we will
There's
spam you so
always one.
hard. Like, you know. All right. There
You
we
got it.
go.
Good. I was like, oh.
Okay.
But yes, thank you, Travis.
All right. Talk about how to get started with Zotero. So you can download Zotero at zotero.org. We also have a libguide that basically redirects you to zotero.org at times. Um, Create an account. What email you use does not matter. You can use an email that you will keep having access to forever and be, an organized person instead of doing what I do and starting a new Zotero at every institution I work at. And it is available for download in company portal through ODU ITS for faculty and staff. I believe EndNote is as well. Um, if you know what company portal is and what's in there, um, that is an option. There is a way to, if you don't have admin access on your computer, there is a workaround for that for Zotero as well. If you're using like a computer that is both not ODU, like if you the straightforward thing to do for an ODU owned computer is to do it through the company portal, but always a workaround with Zotero. So just like email us if you're having issues with that, and we will figure it out. All right, speaking of emailing us,
All right. So I think the big thing to be emphasized here first is that like all of us like working with folks, you kind of getting started with citation managers. It's something I think all of us enjoy doing. And the best way to do that is to make an appointment with us is at, give me just a second so I can get you a real URL. At odu.libcal.com/appointments, where you can kind of find Jasmine, Miriam, and I and make either an in-person or an online appointment. Jasmine and I are under general education, whereas Miriam is under subject librarians. Um, but yeah, we can meet with you. What I think works fairly well for these meetings when people are getting started with citation managers is to download the citation manager, mess around with it a little bit, try to do some things, try to find the places you don't understand what you're doing, and then come meet with us. I think just kind of citation managers are there tends to be a very steep learning curve that is
yeah,
also very short. Like it just kind of people have to like build mental models for how everything works real briefly, and then it gets pretty easy. So I think it works nicely if you mess with it, download it, kind of make sure it's on your computer, and then we can sit down and kind of walk through your research using the citation manager, saving some things. That's kind of what I recommend in terms of getting help from us. There are also places to kind of figure this out yourself. So as Jasmine mentioned, the Zotero print documentation is pretty good. There's a quick start guide that I think really lays everything out pretty nicely, and then some more kind of like advanced documentation. If you have problems, the um, community message boards are really good.
They'll also respond to email. Like I think one
Mhm.
time our proxy link was broken and they fixed it in like a day.
Yeah.
Um, they're fast.
Yeah. And
And
and also through EndNote, through Clarivate, they do also have, they're really responsive. So I'll put a link to EndNote's um, help page.
I think the EndNote's big strength as far as kind of you like getting help is they have really nice videos. They kind of their support tends through YouTube videos. So if you find the EndNote YouTube page, they've got kind of nice short videos for like all your different problems or all the different processes that you might use. Okay. I think we're at Q&A now.
Nope.
No, oh,
Commercial break. If you're like, yeah, if you want to learn more about any of our citation managers, so Zotero Basics is coming up on February 12th, and that's with me and Travis. We also have EndNote Essentials on February 5th, 17th, March 12th, March 26th from 6 to 7 with Miriam. And then the Zoom into Zotero is more of like a drop-in office hours. It's experiment. So if you have just Zotero questions or you just want to see me again, that is where you can go for that. But yeah, that's more of a like maybe you went to this workshop or the Zotero Basics, and then you did like Travis said, you downloaded it, played around a little, and now you're like, wait, what do I do here? Or if you're a lot of the frequently asked questions um, are on the Zotero libguide. So, like where's the browser plugin? People forget
Mhm.
to turn it on, for example. So definitely check there first. But yeah, beyond that, glad to help with. I mean, I'm still glad to help. I will show you where that browser plugin is 1,000 times. I forget about that all the time too. And all right, that was the February 3rd, 2026 workshop, Getting Organized and Managing Your Citations. This recording was edited for time and clarity. Be sure to check out our workshops both live and on our channel, which you should also like and subscribe. Thanks for watching and happy researching.